Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you. And today, we got a special gift for you. Yes, we're going to take flight. We're going to catch some air. A dear friend of mine is our guest today. He's an amazing author that just released his book. Jeff Senour, welcome to the show. How you doing, my brother?
Hi, everybody. I'm great, Daniel. How are you doing?
I know the beautiful person you are. Do me a favor, Jeff. Introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, please, brother.
Well, my name is Jeff Senior. Kind of referred to as pilot by day, rocker by night. I'm just a regular guy out trying to inspire people and make a difference in the world.
Well, you're not trying, you're doing it. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard him right. He is a pilot by day, rock star by night, and an amazing friend to me, and has a beautiful family. I'll tell you what, Jeff. I had the pleasure of meeting you. Can you believe it's over almost, man, it's going on almost a year and a half, almost 2 years already that I met you.
I know. Where's the time go? Crazy.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I had the pleasure of meeting Jeff at an amazing event. A dear friend of both of ours, Leah, in Scottsdale, Arizona. He rocked. I mean, he was literally a rock star. Opened up, played his guitar, and little did I know that we were going to connect and bond. So, just really, I want you to get out your pen and paper right now. Get out your pen and paper because I really want you to take some notes because Jeff has a lot of inspiration, a lot of wisdom, a lot to share with us today. And I really want you to capture this. He just released his new book right here, 7 Miles, right? Live Lessons from 7 Miles High. And the view that captured his heart. When's the last time you had your heart captured in life? Think about that. So I want you to understand this. This show is for you. So I want you to take notes and take it down. Jeff, man, where do we start? Just so much stuff going on with you right now. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
What's going on right now? Your book just got released. Life Lessons from 7 Miles High. So many people have dreams that they don't come true. Is this a dream come true for you?
Absolutely. It started with my mom years ago, who was an amazing woman. And she years ago said, you should write a book someday, because she used to love to hear the stories of my flying adventures, flying movie stars around, flying celebrities around, meeting all kinds of people like that, and then working in the movies, flying, for air-to-air photography. So mom was always very excited about that someday I would do that. I lost my mom about 6 years ago, and so I know that she's looking down and very excited and very proud. And so to see it come true, it's pretty overwhelming. And I had no idea. You helped me with it, Daniel, but the response people give is you almost don't feel worthy. There's just, I bought two, I'm going to do this, I want a signed copy. You're like, whoa, I had no idea this would would touch people like that. But my hopes and prayers and dreams are that the book inspires people to live their dreams, to live every day the gift that God gives us, and make the best of each day, and find the gift inside of you, and go make it happen, make the world a better place.
Well, I'll tell you. Let's talk about some of these lessons. Of course, we only have minutes here, and you definitely want to go buy the book, ladies and gentlemen, on Amazon. But chapter one is weight of the world. Talk to us. What's the live lesson when it comes to the weight of the world, Jeff? What do you mean by that?
Well, weight of the world, I wrote, and all the chapters are titles of songs I've written with my band called To Serve. So, which are on iTunes, which is other news. I don't even know if I told you, we're just getting signed by Universal Music, which is another amazing, kind of hard to believe item going on right now. But weight of the world, I wrote that when I wrote weight of the world, it's about that we all feel we have the weight of the world on our shoulders. And no matter how heavy that might feel at times, there's always somebody worse. If you look around the world, boy, there's somebody else that has it a lot worse than you do. And But God says many times to not fear, to not be afraid, to not, I will carry the burden for you. And so Weight of the World talks about fear and how in aviation I've had to overcome fear. People will sometimes go, have you ever been afraid? And I say, well, I wouldn't be human if I hadn't been afraid at times flying aircraft, because yeah, there are moments when you are afraid. And one of the stories I've got in there is when we were filming a 747 for an airline, doing air-to-air photography, and I was the photo chase plane, and they almost hit us, a 747 and a Learjet. We can see the picture behind me. That's the Learjet, the little one, and then the big one, that's a Dreamliner, but a 747 is even bigger than that. And we almost got taken out. So I was afraid. It was fearful. And it's how we overcome that fear when we go through it. And God says, don't be fearful, don't be afraid. It's a tough one sometimes.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because that's an interesting. I want to open up your mind to that. So what goes through your mind when something, right? Because the thing is this, it's not like you're in a car where you can pull over and take a break, right? You can't, it happens, you almost get hit by a 747, you're in your Learjet. How do you
Yeah.
kind of refocus and recapture your just your stance in that?
Yeah. So I fly a Learjet it's basically a dolly. So we're maneuvering around the subject airplane. We brief extensively on the ground every moment from takeoff to touchdown. And this particular time, we were in the lead and he was behind us, and we have him come through and fly through frame. And he just miscalculated his distance from us. Uh, I just had a weird feeling when it happened, and his tail kind of went by our window as he passed us. And is literally God's grace that, we weren't taken out, because we would have all been killed if he had hit us. It's a big plane. And so the first is the initial shock of, oh my gosh, and then it was like, then you start second guessing yourself, how could I be so stupid to allow this happen? So we learn from mistakes that we make in life and go, I'm never going to do that again, or that particular shot, just whether it's in the same thing, if it's driving your car or whatever. So, uh, I remember almost, my knees almost shaking, and you have to compose yourself. I had a crew in my airplane. I had people that were depending on me, and I had to show composure and courage and act like I wasn't that affected by it. And so, and that calmness calms them down, because they all knew something was deeply wrong. And we called off the shot, and when we got on the ground, briefed it and talked about it, and we learned from from the mistake of it, and we never do that again.
And
So,
so let me ask you this: how did you apply that to your personal life?
well, my personal life, I think we all come imperfect. We all sin. We all have. I doubt there's any of us that don't have a skeleton or two in our closets along this life's journey. And so being able to look at those issues and go, I want to make my life better. If we make the same mistake over and over, that's not good. But in life, we learn, and we try to put our faith in God's grace. Thank God he's is so graceful to us. And even though we do sin and make big mistakes in life, he goes, hey, I'm still here. That's another song I wrote called Here I Am. It's about going down dark roads in life, and we think we got it all figured out. And then when we're all down and depressed in our darkest moments, we've already dissed God, and we turn around and go, God, I'm sorry, I need you. And he goes, here I am. I've been waiting for you. Here I am.
Yeah.
And that's true forgiveness and grace. So that's how we learn from that, I guess, in answer to your question.
Yeah, no, it's good because we need to understand, because sometimes we think we know or we don't know, and you're right. So sometimes the shame, the guilt, the regrets are so heavy, so big, and it keeps us from just having a relationship with God. And just really, if you think about it, us as parents, who doesn't want better for their daughter? Who doesn't want better for their son? Who doesn't want better for their family as a father, as a leader of your home, as a mom. But mom doesn't want the perfect marriage, perfect Cinderella wedding for her daughter. And
Yeah.
I think what we're saying here is sometimes we make one mistake and we condemn ourselves and we carry this, I call it a bag of potatoes of shame, guilt, and unforgiveness because we don't forgive ourselves. I've said that before many, many times. And when you don't forgive yourself, it blocks us, it blocks you, it blocks us from receiving what God has for us because the capacity is shrunken because we think at that it makes it worse because first of all most of us think we're unworthy and undeserving as it is, so then when you do something that way, something to that magnitude, you're like, man, I'm even more unworthy, and we condemn
Yeah.
ourselves. So
Yeah.
I love what you're saying, that there is a rainbow, and but at the end of the rainbow there is a pot of gold, which is the pot of gold is God's grace because he loves us, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend not too long ago. We were talking, he was kind of on the fence about his belief, and he kind of said, I think I'm a good person. And I just feel if there is a heaven and there is a God that, that I'll go to heaven because I'm a good person. And I kind of said, well, if being good meant going to heaven, none of us would go because we all fall short, and that's the cool thing about God. He makes it pretty specific, you know, what the ticket to heaven is. It's like a boarding pass on a plane. It's not that hard. It makes it pretty easy for
Yeah.
us.
So what's the view, right? Just being a pilot, and let's we'll break it up into two questions. But I guess the first question that I want to ask you is, what is the first view as a pilot that really captured your heart when you were up there, 26,000 feet in the air? What really captured your heart at that first time? What's like something that you saw? You're like, wow, this is like this is whoa, didn't expect this. This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think the first view that captured my heart was with my dad when I was about 5 or 6 years old. He was a private pilot and took me in a Piper Cub, which is a little tail dragger, about 60 horsepower, and put me in a car seat and strapped me in. And from the moment we lifted off the earth, and I watched the earth go away, and the view that you get from the bird's eye, God's eye view, that captured my heart. And ever since then, I have 30,000 hours of flight time. I actually did the math. It's about 3.5 years in the air. And, but I still never tire of it. I still love it all the time. You just never tire of it when you look down on a city like Los Angeles, and there's 17 million people below you, and you have this view of it that it just gives you perspective, I think, in life. When you're on the ground, you don't get that perspective, but when you're up there, you can kind of see, it's like, oh, okay, some of my problems aren't so bad after all. And there's a certain serenity to. I fly an Eclipse jet as well, and it's a single pilot jet, and I've been at times at 41,000 feet at night across the middle of nowhere. I mean, no one even knows where you are. You're just alone in this capsule 7, 8 miles above the earth, and it's kind of scary in a way, but it's also just very surreal and this beautiful feeling of like, wow, I'm just cruising along here at 400 miles an hour in this little capsule, and no one knows where I am or what I'm doing, and it's a pretty bizarre feeling. So it's perspective. It gives you perspective.
Well, I think we can always a better perspective or a different perspective every once in a while. So many times I think about what Jeff just said, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe right now in your life, in your business, you're looking at things from the ground's point of view. Your perspective is the ground's perspective. So think about what Jeff just said. If we're walking into a high rise, and we'll just say it's a 30-story high rise or a 50-story high rise, we're there, we're looking up, we're like, man, this thing is humongous. But what if you take a higher altitude and you're looking at it from the top view and you look down, it probably looks this little. Now you now you dwarf it. Well, that's the way God looks at us sometimes. We make things bigger than they are in life. We make circumstances a lot larger than what they are. And I get it, it's life. We all go through stuff. Or maybe you've been insulted, maybe you've been talked about, and you're looking at that 30-story building of insult, and you haven't let that go, and it's right. You carry resentment and bitterness in your heart, in your soul, and you have to release that. So I
Yeah.
encourage you, as you move forward after reading your notes of this amazing episode, to ask yourself these questions. Or maybe you have a friend that you're wondering why they're always so grumpy, why they're never happy. Maybe they're looking at that 30-foot, 50-foot story building from the ground view instead of the higher view. Let me ask you this, Jeff.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because people are hurting right now, and they need to understand that if you change, and we've heard this before, one of my great coaches said this, right? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's a quote from the great Wayne Dyer, I believe. And when you really change the way you look at things, everything changes.
Yeah.
And so many people don't realize that we have the power to change our view, just the same way
Yeah.
you do, right? We can all change our view and our perspective, and sometimes it takes a different altitude, or hanging around with somebody different. Who's someone who's really just changed your whole perspective, your point of view, that really helped you see that life's better, life's better than
Hmm.
what I think sometimes. Who's someone
Well,
that who's someone that's
I've
taking you up off the ground?
I've actually had a lot of amazing mentors. I guess my dad, my mom and dad, as a child, and then but I had amazing mentors along the way. One thing my mom used to always tell me, like, treat people with kindness, and whatever job you're doing, make sure you do it well, no matter what it is, whatever task you're doing, do it well, and kindness, and be nice to people, have a good work ethic, and you will exceed most of your peers. And I've taught my kids the same thing. Kindness will open up more doors than anything, because we live in this world that's so divisive right now, and so hateful, and it's everything's doom and gloom, and everything's bad. And I guess that's the perspective of flying has taught me. This earth is it's hurtling through space at 67,000 miles an hour around the sun, that's going hundreds of thousands of miles an hour through a galaxy. And it makes you feel like, whoa, we're really not that big of a deal, but in God's eyes we are. So I guess, as far as, I've just had a lot of great mentors. I've learned from people that I've flown, a lot of celebrities, a lot of movie stars. I kind of learned at a younger age that no matter how much money or fame or fortune you have, or how big your house is, they still deal with the same problems we do. They have turmoil, they have, maybe illness, they have loss or death in their family, they have happiness as well, but they deal with the same emotions we do. Sometimes we think they might not because they're famous, but
Yeah.
but
So saying that, what's give us what are two words of wisdom that you received and advice from some celebrities? Don't say their names, but just what's
yeah, I
something that
can
you heard that really
well,
like changed
I
you?
can one of my funnest stories. It's actually in the book, and I can mention names. I used to fly John Travolta around quite a bit, and super nice guy. I got to know him, and when you spend that much time with somebody, especially in a jet flying together, you get to know each other. And one night we were waiting for some friends of his on the ramp. We were at Burbank, California, and beautiful Southern California sky at night and the stars, and we're talking about life and family, and he goes, "You know what, Jeff? I just wish I could meet a nice girl and get married." And I remember going, "You're John Travolta. What? Are you kidding me? Nice girl? What do you mean, nice girl?" And he goes, "That's the problem. I want to meet somebody that loves me for who I am, not what I am." And sometimes that's easier said than done.
We'll
And
say that
and
again. So listen to that. Love me for who I am, not what I am.
right. And so here he is, this major movie star celebrity, dealing with emotions that I just want to meet a nice woman and get married. He wanted to have kids, and it made me realize that, wow, these people, they deal with the same things we do. They have a lot more money probably than most of us, but but they're still people. They still have the same, you know, desires and wants and all of that. So I learned valuable lessons from people like that, knowing that I flew with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell once to Aspen, and they asked if I was going to go skiing. I put this in the book as well, and they, you know, I remember I didn't have the heart to tell them I wasn't making enough money to pay for a lift ticket. And so yeah, I was kind of a poor young upcoming pilot, and I just told them, you know, you guys go have fun and enjoy your weekend here in Aspen. But it just, you learn that all that stuff doesn't, you know, in the end, this journey of life, it's about our loved ones. You know, if you have your health, that's the biggest, one of the biggest commodities you can ever own in your life. You know, your health, your loved ones. You know, I tell people there's no hearse at a funeral. I mean, there's no U-Haul at a funeral. There's no, doesn't matter how big the guy's house was or his car, or, you know, boat or plane. It's the people, the lives he touched or he or she touched. And so those
Yeah,
are
and
the,
you know, as
yeah,
you're saying that, what comes to mind is it's the. I always talk about this because I think people need to understand this. That it's when you have some type of influence, or you have a business where you're responsible for 50, 100 employees, whatever your situation may be, where you're leading people. It's always about giving them the experiences. So many times in life, I've seen this. I've seen people that are wealthy, celebrities, influencers, whatever you want to call them, and they have this success, and they really don't use it to the benefit of of humanity.
yeah,
And it's really what I love what you're saying is you've had these life-changing experiences because there was good in these people that allowed you to see a different perspective, a different point of view, and say, man, like wow, like you know what? Rich people ain't so bad out there, or celebrities ain't all butt heads. I mean, because we're out at the end of the day, God created us all the same way. So think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Who are you passing judgment on right now?
hmm,
Who are you
yeah, big,
passing judgment on right now that it's keeping you from living the life you want, from getting the career that you desire because you have a judgment. And I'm going to give you another terminology, which is the same thing as judgment, but it's called unconscious bias. Maybe you're having an unconscious bias because maybe you grew up on a side of town. And like I remember me growing up in San Antonio on the south side, right? It's predominantly San Antonio is predominantly Hispanic, but as a Mexican, right, you have lenses that they put on you to see through about other demographics, other people, other races, and it's not healthy. So even as you get up,
mm,
become an older gentleman or a woman, you're still not even aware you have unconscious bias because you've been taught that. And a good example they teach us, we did a huge corporate training when unconscious bias, and it's like I never thought about this, but there was a police officer, Jeff, that was hurt because he goes, man, he goes, we have it worse. And we're like, what do you mean? They go, yeah. So we did this little test there, and we got a piece of paper, and so they're like, hey, there was like 35 of us in the room, and what do you think about when you think of a cop? And like
mm.
I would say over 80% said at the donut shop drinking coffee when they should be out patrolling their cars.
Yeah,
But think about that. That's a great example of unconscious bias because that's just what
absolutely.
we're
Yeah,
programmed to think that way.
yeah. Southwest Airlines used to have a great program. I was, you know, a captain there for 25 years, and they'd have a program called Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And you could actually volunteer to go work any department you want for a day and see what it was like. So you might have conscious bias about, oh, those rampers or those flight attendants or this or, you know, yeah, what a bunch of lazy bums. But then you get in their shoes and work that job and you go, whoa, okay, there. So I think a lot of life is being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and try to relate to, you know. And personally, I never treat anybody differently, you know, whether it's the maid cleaning my hotel room when I'm on an overnight to the CEO of a company. I treat everybody the same, or the contractor that comes into my house that's fixing it. You know, we, because we all have gifts, something to offer and give to this world, you know. And so I think that I like to inspire people to just, you know, be more tolerant of people and try to put yourself in their shoes. That's not an easy job that person's doing. And so try to be sympathetic and have empathy towards them. So.
Let me ask you this. When someone gets your book, Life Lessons from 7 Miles High, what are two things you want them to take away that's really going to help them in life? Because it's a great book. Actually, our editor said, "Man, this guy, it hit your story hit him," and it's beautiful. So what are you wanting the reader, your audience, to take away when they read your book? What's one or two things you want them to take away from that, Jeff?
I think that a couple of things that I would hope that they take away is that God wants us to have a servant's heart. He wants us to serve others. He wants us to, whether that means our family, whether it means our community, serving God, serving our nation, having a servant's heart. Rather than what are you going to do for me? What can I do for, I've always said, if you have a spouse and you have a servant's heart, like, what can I do for my wife? That to be a servant to her, and she has the same feeling towards me. That's a relationship that can't fail. It's going to succeed. And so having a servant's heart is one. The other one, I think, from flying, one thing I talk about when I speak is that every flight we do, we pre-flight, we prepare, we do our flight, but we always have a destination. Because if we don't have a destination, we don't know how much fuel to take. We don't know, what the weather's like. If we can't just willy-nilly go off into the sunset and hope, well, we'll land when we feel like it. We have to know where we're going.
Yeah.
So our destination. So in life, what's our destination? What is this journey, this flight we call life all about? What is it? Where are we going? What's our moral compass? Every airplane has a compass. What's the compass? It tells us the direction we're going. Well, our moral compass, my moral compass, is the Bible. It's God's word. It gives us right and wrong, light from dark. It tells us what we should do or should not do. We fall short, of course, but so our destination is what our moral compass takes us to. And I just spoke a couple of weeks ago at our church, and I said, there's only two destinations in life. To put it bluntly, it's heaven and hell. That's it. There's no in between. So what is your destination? Where are you going? Are you on autopilot, hoping for the best? You just fly your life off into the sunset, hope it all works out? Or do you pre-flight your craft? Are you the captain of your craft? Do you take it where you want to go? And do you know where you're going? Do you know where your destination is in the end? And so those are a couple of things I would hope that people get from the book to make them think like, wow, okay, yeah,
that's
I need
powerful.
to think about it.
Think about that, because most people, I think it's over 90% of people are just floating through life. A big majority are just floating through life. They're
autopilot. I call it autopilot.
Yeah, they're an autopilot. They don't even realize what they're doing. They're just because we're creatures of habit. I say that all the time in my trainings. You're a creature of habit. It's like driving a car. When you first learn how to drive a car, you're very attentive because you don't know what you're doing. But once you get programmed into driving a car, you drive it with your eyes closed, and you can multitask with that. So are you doing that in your life? Listen to what Jeff's saying. Where in your life, I want you to write this question down for yourself right now. Where in your life are you an autopilot? Think about what this question is asking you. Where in your life are you on autopilot? Jeff referenced the fact that maybe in your marriage, you're not really honoring your husband. Maybe you're not honoring your wife. You're just on autopilot and taking them for granted. What we take for granted, eventually we lose it. Whatever you take for granted, eventually you're going to lose it some way, somehow. And maybe it's your kids. Maybe you take your children for granted. Our youth right now needs so much love, so much, and I'm not saying entitlement, but just love to let them know that, man, dad's here, mom's here. Are you taking time to really be present for your children? Are you really, really present for your children?
Yeah.
What's a scripture or a quote that you rely on times of adversity, Jeff?
There's a bunch of them.
Just give me one. Just give me one for the show.
Well, I put it in, I think it's in the book. It's in Isaiah that I love to talk about that, how vast God is, and how, uh, before God formed the earth and the heavens and the earth, he knew when we would be born, where, he knew the time of human history we would be. He already knew. I mean, and so what an honor that we were destined to be here right now in this place at this time. God knew, and he asked us to go be the prophet. And by prophet, I think he means go find your gifts, go find what I gave you and use it for something good in this journey called life. And I chose you to be here at this time, at this very moment. And so, and that's kind of the destination idea as well. So that's kind of sticks with me. And the
And
golden,
that's true, because it's true what you're saying, because we all have a gift. And this is the thing, when you serve people, if you really study out that word in Hebrew, is it's when you're serving people and you're serving humanity, you're using your gift in the marketplace. You're allowing your gift to shine. Jeff's gift is a pilot. Well, look at all the lives he's impacted in flying celebrities, John Travolta, Goldie Hawn, and all these other executives. And then you have people like me and you that he was able to bless in Southwest Airlines because he's using his gift. Are you really serving? When you don't misconcept serve. So many times we misuse that word, but are you really serving the marketplace and adding value to people? And I think that when you serve, you're not just serving in a way of weakness. No, you're serving them because you're adding value to their lives. You're adding value to their business. You're adding value to them as a human being. I love that, Chef.
oh, thanks. Well, and things like kindness and a servant's heart, it doesn't, you don't have to be churchy. You can be in the job force and the workforce, and people, it's like our music. We don't advertise ourselves as a Christian band. We're a rock band, but the message I write is very deep. And we've actually had people in the audience come up and go, there's something about your lyrics. Are you guys like Christian? They can't, and I just say we are. We don't call ourselves a Christian band, but we're a band of Christians, and we the word. So people get that word, and it's whether the workplace or wherever, your family. Look at, you mentioned kids. Kids are going to watch what you do as a parent. If you don't practice what you preach, you can't ask for much respect from them.
Yeah,
So
right? We. This is the lie that we've told ourselves as parents. I can teach them. No, things are caught, not taught. Right? They catch what you do. They're catching you.
yeah.
They're watching you. And even though you can teach them all you want, they're not gonna be taught that way.
Mm,
Things are caught, not taught. So remember that, ladies and gentlemen. What Jeff is
yeah, I
saying is
like
right.
that.
Because if not, what happens is whatever they're gonna tell you, Mike, what do you mean, mom and dad? I'm looking at the way you're behaving and what you're trying to
Right.
teach me, it's not. So they catch
Right.
what they catch what you're doing every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I feel bad for so many children out there that probably grow up in horrible conditions, whether the husband's beating the wife or whatever, and what they see. They usually end up going on and doing the same thing. So I feel bad for families like that, that's all the kids know, and you just pray for them that they can somehow get out of that. I was blessed to have great parents. My dad taught me. I remember one day I told my dad no. He asked me to do something. I said no. He goes, what did you say? Yeah. You learn pretty quick respect and all of that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, but my dad was a kind, wonderful man and gentle at the same time. And so you learn, yeah, you just you practice what you preach.
So how do we get a hold of you? Somebody's buying your book right now. Go to Amazon, ladies and gentlemen. Life Lessons from 7 Miles High, The View That Captured My Heart, from our brother Jeff Senour. Get your copy today. I promise you, it's going to help you just in become a better human being. How does someone get a hold of you, Jeff?
They go just Jeff Senour, Senour, on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. We are kind of revamping the music end of it. We just got signed by Universal, so there's some changes going on with that. That's super exciting. It's almost overwhelming. We're going to do some new releases coming out, and
Awesome.
so our website is ctsmusic.com. Stands for Call to Serve. So ctsmusic.com. That's our website. Search my, if you want to email me, it's jetcentral, JET central at msn.com. I'm open to, I love talking to people. Feel free to email me as well. So,
well, and we'll have all that information on our show notes. Jeff, thank you for being an amazing guest today.
Daniel, you're a blessing to this world, and that smile and that you're always jovial and excited and upbeat, and you're amazing. So thank you for what you do as well, because you bring a lot of positivity and joy to a lot of people. So you helped my dream come true with the book, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, brother, I'm honored to be your publisher and just be your friend, and just, I know we're just getting started here. So thank
Absolutely.
you for allowing me and for trusting me. So ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. That's a wrap for this week's episode here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. If you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, go out to Amazon and get our copy of The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. We want to get you that copy. And also go to themakingsofaMillionaireMind.com, get our course, 27 powerful modules that are helping people radically change the way they think and the results they're getting. And join us next week. We're going to have another amazing guest that really wants to pour into you. Jeff, this is going to go down as a classic. I just know that because your heart was so true. And thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week here with another amazing guest on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show.
This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.